fans, and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight we are talking to you about MTV's Season 2 Scream Episode 4.
We're back! It's been a while.
No kidding. You know, we just kind of dumped a bunch of trailer reactions on you and then
absconded into the night.
But yeah, it's been a long time. Again, a little bit of a disclaimer for those of you guys who only watch the Scream ones. Sorry we've been away between moving and work and AfterBuzz
and a ton of travel
on
both of our parts.
And convention coverage and things like that. Just haven't had time to sit down and watch this wonderful show, which, thank God, I haven't been spoiled for.
I'm impressed that I haven't been spoiled. I'm following one of the people on Twitter, and somehow I've managed to avoid spoilers.
I'm following most of them on Twitter, as well as MTV and the official MTV
impressed that you have
Scream Twitter.
I'm very impressed that you've managed to avoid being spoiled. Dang.
I think part of it is just that I'm too busy to look at Twitter and things that aren't directly tagged for me.
That's true.
But anyway, thank you guys for not sending direct spoilers to us. Right now, as of tonight, the season is at episode 10, and tonight we're going to be talking about episode 4. So we are just
we're a
a teensy bit behind.
But we're working on it.
So yeah, we're going to get caught up one episode at a time, and this episode was kind of a nice one to be reintroduced to the series after being away for a little while.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I love the framing of it because we had, the killer in this particular episode is very clever about the way everything is done. And I'm almost positive now that the new killer, or one of the new killers, is Kieran's cousin, because everything worked out perfectly. If he is one of the people in the mask, then everything worked out perfectly for him because he was the one that insisted on a big party. He could have easily, he was the one that went outside to get the tequila and
the cups.
Both he and, coincidentally enough, Gustavo, new guy,
Sheriff's son,
were both. Neither of them have alibis for the time that Emma went outside and saw the person in the mask. In fact, the two of them may very well be working together since the sheriff's son did have a mask, but I feel like that's more of a misdirect.
I honestly think that Gustavo was responsible for the tequila and that he's been responsible for Jake's phone. I'm having a hell of a time with names tonight. Jake, right?
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah. I think he has Jake's phone. I think he's been the one texting Brooke. I think he's responsible for the spiked tequila. I do not think he's behind the mask. I think he's just obsessed and had a prop in an unfortunate place.
Yeah, no, I agree to an extent because I feel like he's got his own shady stuff going on, but that shady stuff has absolutely nothing to do with a new killer. He's just got his own little agenda and or his own just issues to work through. Much in the same way that Jake and Will in season 1 had their own little blackmail racket going that had absolutely nothing to do with the series of murders that was then taking place. Yeah, they're dead now.
We went full Carrie at the end, and I thought that was
poor Brooke.
Very well framed, very well shot, and just what she was doing was exactly, you could lay it over the Carrie footage and it's the same motions, the same stance, the same, I thought that was well done.
And even in Carrie, Carrie's date gets knocked out and ends up, basically face down on the stage.
So he basically winds up dead. Poor man.
Yeah.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old movie
/ book. Yeah. Because the bucket fell on his head, and I was never clear if it was the metal bucket that killed him or the ensuing fire that did. But of course, the only person that would have been able to calm her down or comfort her was knocked the hell out and or dead. So yeah, fire everywhere. Brooke is not is not
He's not
embedded, imbued with telekinetic abilities. So
The series would be very different if she were.
yeah,
I'd watch that TV program, but it'd be very different.
and just the look on Audrey's face of like, oh,
There it is.
Ooh,
And
this
I
could have worked out better.
And I loved the full-on dramatic irony, and Scream is very, very good at this, where the audience knows something the characters don't, where Aubrey's going, wait, you said Jake sent it? Audrey, I'm sorry. I said I was bad with names tonight. It's not working out too
It's
well.
fine.
The synapses are not firing. Where you could just see her going, wait, Jake said that? You said that Jake did this? And she knows, and she's the only one in the room, aside from whomever the killer is, if they're in the room at the time, that knows that Jake is no longer an active player in this game. But someone's got a cell phone.
Yeah, and it's really weird having the new sheriff on the case, as it were, because Mr. Mayor sees that Jake is no longer responding to his daughter's text messages and things like that. And so he's less concerned about his daughter's feelings and more concerned about Jake left me high and dry, made a fool of me, all that other stuff. Find him, compadre, because we're friends. I brought you back here specifically
to play savior.
What a weird phrase. What a weird choice of words.
And it is not good that the mayor owns the sheriff, essentially.
Yeah, we're friends, aren't we? And
Yes,
as my
but it's
friend, which makes me wonder, it's like, okay, either there's a financial tie here, or the mayor obviously has something on this sheriff.
I just feel like it's, you did me a favor. I did you a favor. You owe me one.
Hey, you wanna do me a salad?
Yeah, it's very much that sort of thing. And you could just tell when he walked in and sat down and put his feet up on the sheriff's desk.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what a symbol of A, power, and B, disrespect. Wow.
Both those things.
So, really good direction. Really good. I was very impressed with this episode.
We got it very briefly in the last episode, but obviously all of the adults that are presented in this series, with the exception of the really weird psychology teacher who is undoubtedly going to use Emma's dream journal that she's keeping against her, and or
she'll
just for
publish
her
it and
own
get rich.
No, either against Emma or just for her own personal gain.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, she's doing this to write a book, unless she's also in cahoots with whoever the new killer is, which I highly
not
doubt.
to be trusted, and fairly certain that you can't record someone's conversation.
Generally speaking, an irresponsible adult at best. But
Where do they keep finding these people?
they're the worst teachers in the country.
It's like a fucking magnet. It's terrible.
No, this entire town is filled with people with either the worst luck or just terrible people. They're either terrible people, or they have terrible luck, or they are terrible people with terrible luck.
And you brought this up while we... Excuse me. And you brought this up while we were watching it the second time around. What do you think's going on with the normal students who are going to this school? The people who get invited to these parties where people are killed and things happen and you wind up with hallucinatory
trip on
tequila
ayahuasca
and all
for
this other
some
stuff.
reason.
Where, yeah, did you hear about those guys? Oh yeah, there's someone going through murdering them. Well, I guess we're all on curfew now. Did you see the live stream at oh my God, that was so fucked up at the Halloween party.
I want to see the movie about the normal kid that goes to the final girl's school and then gets wrapped into her, whatever supernatural and or slasher story she has going on. I think that would be hilarious, and I want to write that screenplay and hopefully make lots of money off of
I
it.
want to see the web series about the normal kids at the different high schools where different horror movies happen. like the counselors who survived Camp Crystal Lake, if there are any, I don't know, or maybe just the classmates of the people who died.
There's a small handful of counselors who survived Camp Crystal Lake.
But like, yeah,
over the course of 10 movies.
I was supposed to be at Camp Crystal Lake, but then my parents said the family reunion was happening, so I had to turn down the job, and man, it sounds like I dodged a bullet.
Woo! Dodged a bullet on that one.
Or the people who are like, did you hear that they haven't slept in a week? Yeah, they said there's this weird dream guy after them. Well, I don't know. I mean, I just moved here from New York, and this is weird.
You know, you're talking about the comic Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, Dream Warriors. It's the sequel to Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. That's basically like a rounding up all of the surviving all-stars from those respective series and just kind of tossing them.
But I don't even want that. Like, I want a web series where each episode is a different thing, a different horror movie, a different whatever, and we just kind of get it from the point of view of the NPCs who are going to the school, or the very innocent old man at the gas station who gave them directions, but they looked at me like I had a second head, or just something.
I would definitely like a movie or a series about the overlapping horror movies that happen to the people at like said high school.
Oh god, like it's one high school, but it happens to end like
literally like a scenario. I'm not talking about like a big old crossover thing, but like a scenario where the Ghostface killer could like run in to a Michael Myers. That sort of thing. Or like a vampire, where it's like, wait a minute, is it Tuesday? I'm sorry, Or like two different protagonists run into each other and like cross paths while they're both being chased by their respective monsters.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. I'd be down for because this is what happens when all your horror movies take place in New York. Or LA.
Or Illinois somewhere, whatever, every town in Illinois.
But only two of them happen in Colorado.
Yeah. But like, because like we get stuff like Buffy, and I remember seeing one or two series where it's like, there's a new creature of the week at, with this, cast of characters every single week, where it's like, well no, wouldn't we have some overlap every now and then?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck else is going on in LA? Maybe the Winchester brothers show up in the middle of a Buffy episode and we kind of have that moment of,
like, I'm dealing with I can't deal with you right now. I've got my own thing. There's a succubus. It's fine.
Like, I got this covered.
Anyway,
no, really, let me deal with the succubus. I know your track record, Dean. We're done.
Anyway, we've gone off on a huge tangent.
We have, but it was fun.
I would love to watch that movie. Anywho,
I would watch that
to get
TV
back
program.
to this TV program and this particular episode, there was one bit in particular I want to talk about.
Sorry, the cat's tearing up the carpet.
Behave. Anyway, there's one part about this episode in particular I want to talk about. I want to talk about the effects, because with the ayahuasca trip, it's an excuse, and I like it being framed of, everybody sort of getting roofied, because it's a justification for using dreams as narrative device, as opposed to just, I'm in shock, and now I have a weird daydream fantasy thing that fills me in on all the necessary exposition that I would have had to do more deductive reasoning to figure out. So I liked that as a framing device. I like it as a window into Audrey's psyche, into Will giving exposition about his creepy ass cousin who probably murdered a dog.
And that's one of the markers of serial killers, is killing or torturing animals, wild animals, pets, etc.
Yeah.
Like, this is a thing, you guys.
And again, maybe I'm buying into it too much, but again, I'm 100% convinced that Kieran's cousin is definitely either colluding with the new Ghostface or is the new Ghostface, because everything worked out really perfectly for him. Not to mention that he was the only one that mentioned to Emma, I believe you. So ultimately, I don't think he was trying to hurt her in that instance. I honestly think he was just trying to make her feel isolated and to make her feel like Kieran didn't believe her, so that he could go up to her and go, I believe you.
If he is a ghost face, he got tacked on is not the phrase I'm looking for, but he didn't show up until an episode or two in, after we already had.
Neither did Neither did Piper from last season. She didn't come in until 4 episodes in.
That's true. It's been a long time since last season.
It has been.
Okay, never mind. Point rescinded.
And we were introduced to him fairly early on. So, but again, this is just sort of speculation at this point. I think it would be interesting if he and the sheriff's son were actually teaming up and they were our 2 new ghost faces. Because one of them is obsessed with the Lakewood Six. The other one is clearly obsessed with Emma. And so maybe the 2 of them together feel like, Audrey, you got off scot-free. You know, your part in this story isn't over. We're gonna spin the narrative now.
I'd like to think that one of the ghost faces is someone who lived in the town and was in some capacity affected by this ghost face thing.
Because it would make their actions seem not justified, but properly motivated.
And I feel like they had the setup for this going for a good long while. I mean, Cousin didn't come in until a chunk of the way into the first episode. We don't know how long Sheriff's son has been there. I assume a couple months. We had kind of a time skip over the summer to go away to therapy and whatnot. But I feel like it's someone who lived through season 1. Even if they were only a background character in season 1, I feel like the person who's going after Audrey is someone who was there. Because it's a little less genuine if you have, I heard about all of this.
Yeah.
Well, not less genuine, but I feel like it would be less impactful.
You know what? I concur with that, actually. I really do think it's Kieran's cousin, whose name escapes me.
That guy.
That guy.
Asshole.
Creepy guy. I think it's Kieran's cousin, and then, yes, somebody who has a personal stake in, what happened in season 1. The only thing that makes me raise my eyebrow and go, okay, but then who? I feel like it's not any of the Lakewood Six.
No.
Because the only person of the Lakewood Six I could see it being would be Noah, and that would go contrary to everything we know about his character, but he's also the one that is the most betrayed by Audrey being involved.
That's true.
But I still don't see him being the killer. But I was looking at him a little bit in this episode with a raised eyebrow, because I'm like, man, because this, who the killer is, obviously they have it out for Audrey, and if it is Noah, he is the one that was most betrayed by her, because they are the closest friends. And so he would, and again, he currently has the closest proximity to her, can kind of keep an eye on her, on what she's doing. I still don't think it's him, because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of the logistics don't seem to pan out for it either.
Again, it might have just been someone who was an NPC for season 1, was at the parties, was at the Halloween party, saw all of this stuff go down. Maybe it was, no, I was friends with this person and they died and it was partly your orchestrations. Maybe it was, God, wouldn't it be great if it was like Piper's #1 fan? Wouldn't that be wild?
I mean, we still haven't seen the girl in this episode, but the girl who pulled the prank at the very beginning of the season. So it could be her and creepy cousin guy. I mean, I feel like those are good bets right now.
On one hand, it's like, boy, that's a little obvious. And on the other hand, it's like, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that just be great?
And it turns out she's Piper's cousin or something, or foster sister, or
even just biggest fan.
And
I would find that completely wild.
That would be really great. And again, this girl was big on the internet, or big into the internet, so that's a possibility. And the other thing to remember is that in Scream 2, there were no clues leading up to, I guess, spoiler alert, the killer being Mrs. Loomis. That came right out of left field. Yeah, she had been there early on. Her being, a hanger-on for Gail is, it's kind of obvious, like, okay, this lady's clearly up to something. But her being Mrs. Loomis came right out of left field.
It works. There's motivation. They didn't have to go around making the motivation. It was, you killed my son, goodbye. But
But yeah, it was one of those things you would never have guessed it either. So it's one of those things where I feel like, again, since they kind of tapped the Scream 3 well quite a bit last season, this season, maybe when we get to our big reveal, it'll be more season 2.
And the chess piece that we still have is the cousin.
Yeah.
With the pig farm.
Oh yeah, Brandon James'
brother.
Yeah, brother,
not cousin.
But yeah, we keep cutting to, a vision of Emma being young, digging through
playing with pig entrails, because that's what happens when you don't watch your kids on a farm.
Some reason. I'm not sure
if that's symbolic or if that was just negligence.
I feel like maybe a little bit of both. I feel like it's supposed to symbolize something or other, but really it's just kind of confusing as to why.
That's what happens when your 5-year-old gets away from you and runs off. 5, 10, 8.
I don't know. When I was 5, I don't think I would have dug my hands into pig intestines. I feel like that's not something I would have done. So
5-year-olds do a lot of crazy stuff.
I don't know. She doesn't even look 5. She looks a little older than that. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like that's not the sort of thing I would have done as a child at any point in time.
Yeah, but if being on a pig farm / slaughterhouse is normalized to you, if this is, I've been here before, this is fine, whatever, if you're able and encouraged to go exploring, maybe it's less weird. If you grow up around that kind of thing, killing your own food is it's not weird. So that might have been a very normal thing when she was young. You go to the pig farm, you see the occasional
There's a surprise inside.
Oh, God. Yeah, if you dig hard enough, you can find the chorizo.
It's like a Cracker Jack box. There's a prize. You just have to find it.
Except instead of Cracker Jacks, it's crackling. Yeah, we should continue on. Pork crackling.
Oh, you mean like pork rinds?
Fried. Yeah, kind of.
You just call them pork rinds.
But the pun is Cracker Jack and crackling.
But they're pork rinds.
That's the joke.
Yeah, it wasn't funny. I had never heard of crackling. I heard of pork rinds. Neither, they're not.
Let's continue.
It's fine. Anyway, don't you pat me. Don't you condescending pat me. Anyway, so one thing, like I said, I wanted to talk about the effects, because what we see in this episode is a combination of really good and clever and well executed effects due to the ayahuasca trip.
And the occasional shitty Photoshop filter.
And then really bad, like...
My eyes are on fire.
Like, late 90s effect.
Shitty Photoshop filter.
It was like, yeah, exactly. The constant slow motion blur, the eyes being on fire.
The eyes being on fire is the one that gets me every stupid time, because the fire filter is what you put on something when you want to make it seem cool.
Well, and it was not well done. None of those effects were well done. And
excuse me.
Looking at this episode for the effects that weren't well done, I felt like I was back in the 90s, and not in a good way. Well, no. I felt like I was watching shows like when I was a kid, where it's like, these effects look great for the time. No, they didn't. They didn't, guys. But I was a kid and less discerning. But yeah, it made me feel like I was watching a network television show when I was a kid, like Goosebumps or something. Not effects that bad, but things like that, there's wavy stuff. I will say, got a little bit better when it was Audrey's, sort of like the house is transforming around her. It got much better at that point, but definitely during Brooke's hallucinations, it just looked bad.
Well, here's the difference. The ones that we saw that looked bad would have been done in Photoshop, After Effects. They're mostly stuff where it's like, okay, we need this, put it in post. The good ones that we loved were very much subtle camera tricks.
Subtle camera tricks, or again, served a very specific narrative purpose. And what we're talking about,
eyes, not so much.
Specifically, again, the house transforming around Audrey was really good, but specifically, Jake appearing in Brooke's hallucinations and grabbing on to the letterbox.
Because the thing is, I don't think we even noticed when they started to letterbox it.
We
All
didn't.
the stuff that was happening, we were just like,
Not until he started reaching out, and then at that point you're like, wait a minute, when did those? And then he rests his hands on it, squeezes, and there's a rack focus. It was very well done. And
Man,
then
alive.
on top of it, to take us out of that particular scene, they open up the door and they slide as the door is moving across the screen. So does the bar.
it wipes the letterbox.
It was such a well done. It was like these particular things were edited and done
people.
by very different people, because
Like, again, we keep coming back to the Fire Eyes, but like, that's someone who is straight out of school or halfway through school and was just like, we're doing the cool thing, we're experimenting, it's great. And then the letterboxing and the grabbing it trick is done by someone who's had a lot of experience with it and knows that
who's been in this game for a while.
that subtlety works really, really well, right into the point where you have to hit them in the face. And that's what this was. And I've seen, like, the people do that effect with GIFs on Tumblr where they'll divide something and then have it be your reach around or breaking out, or people have done some really cool effects with GIFs, and I see a lot of this stuff on Tumblr. Seeing this happen in a show like this, seeing these effects was just like,
Well, and
That's horrifying.
especially for a show like
Right.
Scream, that, meta is its bread and butter.
oh yeah.
So it's great to see that. And again, I really liked this because as much as I adore the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and as much as Wes Craven obviously was involved with both of those series, Scream and Nightmare are two different things. And at the beginning of the season, I really was afraid they were going to lean too much into the Nightmare stuff. But this episode was a really good way of sort of having your cake and eating it too, when the effects worked for it.
Because it was very well put together. We had the tequila from Jake. That was recognized as very expensive by Kieran's cousin. And then, oh, by the way, we used to go out and trip balls and on this sort of thing. And it had these exact same effects. So it's a good thing I know about it. It's a good thing I'm here to help Brooke through everything. Because I totally want to get in her pants. And this is not in any capacity subtle. Like, that's way too convenient on his part. I realize it's convenient for Kieran that everything worked out. But I think for
You mean
Kieran's
Kieran's
cousin, brain, I'm good at this. But I think
By
it's
the way, thanks for
way-
ruining your cousin's birthday, douchebag.
Oh my god, what a dick! But I think, you know, once, is it Gustavo? I don't
I
remember.
want to say it's Gustavo.
Once
It's been a
Sheriff's
while.
son hears, oh, there's a party. Oh, everyone's going to be there. Oh, I'm invited. Opportunity. And it worked well for Kieran's cousin. But I don't think that's something he was planning for. If he is one of the killers.
I
We
still
don't know.
think that Kieran's cousin orchestrated the entire thing, including the tequila. But I do think you're right that at the very least, Gustavo has Jake's phone, which it's really unsettling because he wrote to Brooke, either way, you'll see me soon.
Tomorrow.
And sure enough,
wasn't
I think it was tomorrow. Either way, you'll see me tomorrow. And
Lo
it's true.
and behold.
They certainly did. Whoo! They saw his insides and his outsides.
How?
Yeah. Which, again, poor Jake. I mean, at least with this episode, it also kind of gave them an excuse to sort of keep the actor around through this episode as well. Because he got a raw deal getting killed off in the first episode of the season.
First episode or second episode?
First episode.
That's
it
right,
did
at
not
the
take
very
long.
end.
So, I mean...
Poor bastard.
Yeah, I feel really bad for the actor. Such a bummer. I don't feel bad for Jake because Jake was a jerk, but
I feel bad for Brooke.
I feel
Because
real
then
bad
some
for Brooke.
asshole's giving her the runaround
Well,
with Jake's phone. Like, that's even worse.
And not to mention that the whole Lady of the Lake thing is driving in the whole I know what you did last summer thing even harder. Because, Brooke is going to be our Sarah Michelle Gellar in terms of, like, the beauty pageant queen and everything like
But
that.
she's unwilling. She
She's-
does not want to do this.
she's
Notice Dad's putting her up to it.
Well, it was very similar in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Sarah Michelle Gellar hadn't accomplished anything in the past year, so she wasn't happy about having to go back and be, hand over the crown and everything like that.
But she'd been a willing participant the first time around, though.
Because she won, and she hadn't killed anybody yet. Womp womp. Anywho, I think that pretty much does it for this episode. I mean, we spent most of this theorizing about it. We do got to talk about poor Noah and Zoe.
I feel like we also need to talk about Dad.
We need to talk about Dad, and we need to talk a little bit about Audrey, because Audrey, like I said, we got a little peek into her subconscious, and even though I feel like she's not directly responsible for her ex's death, she definitely carries this burden of guilt and definitely feels like she's responsible. But I really liked that they kept her words pretty ambiguous, because she didn't say I killed you, or like you're dead because of me. She said I take responsibility and I am sorry. But that's not the same as, oh yeah, I totally murdered you. It was completely different.
And Noah was somehow cogent enough to remember that after the fact.
Yeah.
But we sure did have a threesome, and I was down for that.
But Zoe's not, apparently, because she thinks that Noah got rejected by Audrey, and that she's now his rebound, and she's not about that, which is unfortunate because he really likes her, and he and Audrey are just friends. The real issue with him and Audrey is that he can't figure out why she's being so distant. Which, again, pretty obvious for us on this side of the fourth wall.
I just love that Audrey went, she likes you, don't screw it up, and 30 seconds later...
Did not work. I hope they can figure it out, because...
I think they will, but I think we're still gonna have contention, because when is anything ever easy in this show?
It would just be nice to have more than one healthy relationship, because Kieran and Emma, even though they are the best functioning couple in this group, Jake's dead, most everybody else is dead in terms of relationship stuff. So it would be nice to have more than one functioning couple.
Yes.
Because apparently in television shows there can only be one, if that.
That's an awful thing that I think we need to, not do.
But you were saying we need to talk about Emma's dad a little bit. Tom Everett Scott
is leaving.
I liked that Emma said, hey guys, you need to cut this out. This isn't about me, it's about you. Stop pretending like it's about me. Because there are lots of married or formerly married couples, divorced couples, who do that. They use their kids as either bargaining chips or
battering rams.
Or, I don't want to say trophies, but definitely I can't let the other person have this. And granted, Emma's mom was in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, and Emma's dad obviously still has drinking and anger issues.
So clearly, if I'm to side with either one of them, I definitely side more with Emma's mom, because she was a victim in this whole thing. But at the same time, Emma's absolutely right. Not telling her things, and in an effort to protect her, it does the exact opposite.
And we had this conversation earlier on in this season, and Mom was still overruled in the we shouldn't tell her anything. No, I told her I'd tell her. Well, we're going to agree not to tell her things.
Because we're an old boys club who has secrets, apparently, and other things.
That's not good.
Weird.
That's not good.
Again, it's so weird seeing the adults in this town, all in cahoots with one another.
Everyone's terrible. Just get out of the town.
Well, and again,
graduate, go to college.
We clearly still don't have all the details about
what
Brandon James back in the day, what happened to his family, and ultimately probably what became of him, too.
I mean, shot and fell in the lake.
Fell in the lake. Presumed dead? Maybe not.
You're shot, fall in lake, drowning is a possibility. The question is whether or not he actually did go insane.
Well, it's also, it's possible that he didn't kill any of those people. It's also possible that he did, and that the reason his family left was to keep him safe.
Could be.
So, there are lots of possibilities. Basically, we've just been theorizing this whole episode. This was less a review and more of okay, let's figure this out.
I like that, though.
It's fun.
I like that, though.
All right.
It was a very well put together episode. A lot to think about.
Very well put together episode. A lot of good story bits. Iffy effects, except for when they were great. And And then
50-50.
And then again, kind of interesting relationship development stuff. So,
Yeah.
And poor Audrey tried to bury that corkscrew, and that didn't last long. So again, whoever is keeping tabs on her is doing a fantastic job.
And it's horrifying.
Yup. Whoever they are, they're very good at their jobs. Anywho, I think that just about wraps it up. Any other final thoughts?
No. Looking forward to the next one.
Me too. I can't wait to get caught up.
Catch up. It's going to be a thing. Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
All right then, Katie, where can people go if they want to keep up with
You
you?
can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet.
And I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at themenguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at Silver_Screams. On Twitter and Instagram. Like us on Facebook. We just put up a bunch of reaction trailers for Comic-Con stuff. Walking Dead, Kong Skull Island, Rocky
Blair
Horror
Witch.
Picture Show. Blair Witch, guys. You should totally check out our Blair Witch trailer reaction.
They
because
got
it's-
us good.
It's a special thing. It's real special.
That has never happened to me before.
Me
Especially
neither.
not on camera.
Me neither. Anyway, so yeah, be sure to check those out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And please, again, no spoilers. We'd really appreciate
We've gone so long.
We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you guys are really, really good at not sending us spoilers, and we would like that to please continue because we really super appreciate it.
But thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.